Woo! Beetle Gabe here. That's Gabe Mathews, certified paranormal investigator, dressed up as paranormal icon Beetlejuice. And I just got back from my 7th viewing of the new Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I've been waiting my whole life for a sequel to it. And I grew up watching the original cartoon. The original Beetlejuice movie, you know, Beetlejuice is kind of a creepy guy who's older trying to marry Lydia, whereas the cartoon has Beetlejuice being like Lydia's best friend, where, you know, this girl can summon her friend at any time.
A spider brooch? Oh, I could kiss you! But I'll just give you a big hug.
I also recently saw the Beetlejuice musical, and while there were some things I liked about it, I kind of didn't like it at all.
I can bring your daddy so much pain. All you gotta do is say my name. Girl, just say it 3 times in a row, and you won't believe how far I'll go.
You know, it didn't have that spooky vibe, that tone from the first movie that I loved so much. The original Beetlejuice had like a specific tone that you don't see much. It's a comedy, yet it has a gothic tone. It's almost impossible to make a sequel to a all-time great movie. I've been waiting my whole life for a Beetlejuice sequel, and originally they were going to do a movie called Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian. I really loved this idea. You have Beetlejuice's gothic kind of tone mixed in with some beach setting, and I thought, wow, this is a cool way, because you don't want to redo the Beetlejuice movie. You want to kind of take it a completely different direction, and the idea of going Hawaiian in my head just sounds like a fantastic idea. However, I did look up the details of the script. The movie that was described would have been completely awful and would have been way worse than this movie, Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. And I'm not saying this movie is bad. It's not bad. It's just, I really enjoyed the movie enough to where I saw it 7 times, but it's tough because Beetlejuice is one of the movies that I've seen the most ever in my life. Probably after Ghostbusters. We're gonna have some light spoilers in this. The movie starts out with the old school intro with the Danny Elfman score, and it flies over the city just as they did in the original movie, and I'm completely on board. Love it. And then we kind of go into the house, but then when we go into the window, we end up not inside the old house, and we're now in a studio where now Lydia is like the host of a television show. I don't hate this idea, but then they start out making fun of ghost hunters, and me being a certified paranormal investigator, a ghost hunter, I didn't like that. And we had Lydia starting to notice Beetlejuice in the audience, and I thought this was a great idea where Beetlejuice kind of starts popping up more in her life, and I think that was a great way to kind of reintroduce the character. This is like Lydia having a post-traumatic stress disorder of Beetlejuice trying to marry her.
Now's my chance.
Winona Ryder did a great job acting as Lydia, but I will say the writing from her character, it just wasn't the character that I know as being Lydia. Lydia in the first Beetlejuice was amazing. I thought she's a great character. In this movie, it's like she's taking pills right off the beginning, and it's like, Lydia wouldn't be taking pills. Why is she taking pills? You know, why is she dating this loser of her boyfriend? And I think Justin Theroux did a really good job of being that annoying boyfriend that you despise. If I were to write this movie, I would have changed his character completely, probably wrote a whole different character, kind of got rid of the marrying on Halloween storyline. He was a loser, and it's just not the type of guy that I would envision Lydia dating. You know, I'd almost consider her to be kind of single, or, you know, more into paranormal entities. Lydia Dietz also had another lover begin with that she had a child with. We are introduced to her child, Astrid, and they talk about the father. In fact, the father shows up later on in the movie, but they just didn't do enough with the character. I just, didn't have a feeling like, oh wow, I want Lydia to be with this guy. I like the idea of going that Lydia's tried love throughout life with humans and just didn't make it, so then to the point where we can actually introduce Beetlejuice as being the love interest for her. And then we get an introduction to the Netherworld, and we get a cameo from Danny DeVito himself. And it was cool to see Danny DeVito in this zombie makeup. And, you know, Danny DeVito played the Penguin in Batman Returns, another movie directed by Tim Burton. So it's good to see him in this movie, even though his role was kind of small. We were introduced to one of the villains in the movie, which is a woman who is the soul sucker. And we immediately get a Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas kind of vibe, where she has to sew on her parts. Seeing her as kind of like a Sally character in live action, I loved it. It made me think, man, why haven't they got Tim Burton to direct a Disney live action Nightmare Before Christmas? And I hate to even bring this up to give Disney any ideas, but we have Tim Burton making Alice in Wonderland, Alice in Wonderland sequel, Dumbo. Those movies, not that great. A live action Night Before Christmas will be better than those films. And I just can't believe that, you know, with the money that Disney has and them remaking these live action of all these movies, Lion King, Aladdin, how could they not think of making a live action Night Before Christmas and get Tim Burton? Love seeing Michael Keaton, Danny DeVito in this movie. Wouldn't it be great? We get to see a sequel to Beetlejuice way later in Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Why don't we get a Tim Burton Batman 3? Wouldn't it be cool to have Tim Burton come back, Michael Keaton come back, and maybe get him to do a Riddler movie? I think that's what they were going to do. Or I don't know, maybe get him to do Clayface. That's my Batman. Tim Burton. I like Christopher Nolan too, but Tim Burton Batman. So yeah, we had to kill off Charles Dietz. Unfortunately, the actor who plays him, Jeffrey Jones, is a pedophile, and we had to eliminate him from the movie. So how do you do that? And they actually had a CGI, which was a completely different tone from the rest of the movie, where he's on a plane, and it was kind of had a Hawaiian theme. I think it might have been a callback to the idea of Beetlejuice goes Hawaiian, and it crashes down and he dies and he gets eaten by a shark. I'm okay with this just because of, you know, Jeffrey Jones being a pedophile. This was a fun way, and I think the constant bringing up of that he's dead and being so sad about it, you know, was a good choice. It's funny to see just a character that's a midsection cut off. You're able to still have his character in the movie, yet not have it in the movie. There's part of the movie where Willem Dafoe's character talks about having a live grenade and having to go off as an actor. And it's funny to me because you had Alec Baldwin who killed someone on set. Alec Baldwin who played one of the Maintenance from the first movie. It was kind of maybe a callback to that, or maybe I just am looking too far into this. And then we get Beetlejuice's backstory, and he is speaking Italian over a black and white scene, and this is my favorite scene of the movie. This is an homage to Mario Bava's Black Sunday, a movie I haven't seen, but I probably will watch it now because I enjoyed this scene so much. Having the subtitles and having the Italian over the black and white. And I really just loved it. You got to find out he's a grave robber. He was getting married. You know, he has this honeymoon where she's in a cult and trying to kill Beetlejuice.
Where is Beetlejuice?
And then we get this super awkward proposal scene where, you know, Charles Dietz dies and everyone's there. And at the wake, Justin Theroux's character proposes to Lydia and wants to get married on Halloween. So cringe, and I get that that's how we want to feel for this movie, so I guess he does a good job of doing what it's supposed to do, but I can't help but hate it. And you would ask her after the proposal leaves and rides a bike ride. They have a song choice. I don't remember what the song was, but it's kind of an odd song choice. To me, it just isn't the tone of Beetlejuice, and I hate when they have song choices in movie that just don't fit the tone of the movie, which kind of reminds me of like Ghostbusters Afterlife, when they're driving the Ecto-1 and they have the Buzzcocks playing in a field. When Astrid is riding her bike, she drives her bike past the Maintenance old hardware store, and it's now a coffee shop. I'm okay that it's a coffee shop, but it made me think of Ghostbusters Afterlife when Ray Stantz says that the firehouse is now a Starbucks. Just a horrible choice, and I wish that they wouldn't have done that in that movie. For me, I wish the Beetlejuice sequel had the Maintenance in it, because the Maintenance were the focus of the first movie. I mean, Beetlejuice is only in it for a short period of time, and to be honest, he's only in Beetlejuice Beetlejuice also for a short period of time. So it's like we need some of the Maintenance, or at least have another character, or like have them show up for a little bit. But basically, we find out that they had a loophole and they moved on. If we got another Beetlejuice movie, I would want it to be whatever that loophole is. I think it's a interesting topic that I want to know, like how, if you're a ghost and you're living in this house, how can you get a loophole and move on to an afterlife? This would be a topic I'd like to see, even if it's in a graphic novel. I know Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin can't look like themselves from 1989, so I think having it wrap up in a graphic novel would be a really good idea. Maybe I can even write it. They mentioned that Beetlejuice is a demon. Is this canon? Is Beetlejuice actually a demon? I always consider him to be a ghost. Don't think ghosts can also be demons. So it's confusing to say this.
The juice is loose.
I would like to cut out about 40 minutes of the movie. I know that the movie's runtime is about an hour and 44 minutes, but to me, there probably is 100 minutes of a great movie here, and then 44 minutes of things that I don't really care for, would like to change, or just completely cut out. Michael Keaton was phenomenal in this movie. I think every scene with Beetlejuice himself was perfect. Beetlejuice is his best role, and the fact that he's so good in it after all these years is just a great thing. And I do want to point out, I think Winona Ryder was great. Catherine O'Hara was fantastic. I hated Justin Theroux's character, and I also kind of didn't really enjoy Willem Dafoe's character. I love Willem Dafoe. I think he did fine acting. I just didn't get the bit of him being a actor playing a cop that's dead. It just, the jokes didn't quite work for me. Where is Otho? We didn't get one single mention of Otho in the whole movie. And I even, during that weird CGI scene where Charles Dietz on the plane and it crashes and he dies, there is a CGI character next to him, and I was wondering, is that Otho? But it didn't quite spell it out, and it didn't quite look like Otho. So I think not, but maybe it was, and I'd hate to think that Otho also died in the plane and they didn't have a funeral for him. So I'm pretty sure that it wasn't there. So I guess Charles Dietz was sitting by some randos on the plane. But what did happen to Otho? I think that this is something that we can explore maybe in a third movie. Otho was a focal point of the first movie, and I know the actor Glenn Shaddix died. And to not get any mention of him, though, in this was a bit odd. I know in the Beetlejuice Goes Hawaiian scripts, Otho played a prominent role, and I think if Glenn Shaddix was alive, he would be in this movie. Esther just seeing her dad randomly in the Netherworld was just such a small world choice. How could you just randomly run into her dad when she got there? And he's such a generic character that I just didn't feel for at all. I didn't buy Lydia, even having him as a love interest. He just wasn't very fleshed out. Then he got ate by a fish, which is just like some weird joke, I guess. And you had all the shrunken head guys, which they were funny. I enjoyed seeing it. And you had Bob, which is a good laugh, but it was also kind of some cheesy generic thing for marketing to do, and it kind of reminded me of the mini puffs from Ghostbusters Afterlife. They're just this cutesy little things, some minion-esque characters that we can use for promotion. And I don't know, it's like Bob Bob. The Soul Train bit, which I actually thought was kind of funny and clever, but now I'm reading online about how it's racist and that Tim Burton doesn't have any black people in his movies except for, the scene here where you do a soul train. I would love to see a unique property with a black character as a focal point in a gothic tone of a Tim Burton movie. Beetlejuice is the best Tim Burton movie since Sweeney Todd. One of my issues with the movie is when Beetlejuice and Lydia were getting married, why not have the same creature be the officiant from the first movie? Instead, we had this priest kind of doing it, and I think it's probably budgetary reasons, but I think that would have been a fun callback to the first movie to have that same creature be the officiant.
Do you take this woman to be your wedded wife?
We did get another possession song in this movie, and it was really fun. I've never heard of Richard Harris MacArthur Park, and I guess in hindsight, I might have heard the disco version. I love this scene. This is probably one of my top 5 scenes of the movie. Very good, very well done. I could watch it over and over again. It's a fun song. Weird Al Yankovic actually did a Jurassic Park song that was a parody of MacArthur Park. And I got some chuckles out of the Weird Al Jurassic Park song. Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? There was no Harry Belafonte in this movie, where he played such a prominent role in the music of the first movie. We did get a Deo scene at Charles Dietz's funeral, which I thought was a fun nod, because I imagine that scene in the first movie where they're all sitting at the table and they have a possessed, where they all sing Deo, is probably a big moment of their life that they'll remember forever. And if you remember in the first movie afterwards, they were laughing about it, enjoying it, and wanting to kind of use capitalism to make money off the ghosts in their house. So it only makes sense that this was a great time and a great song for him, and a good choice to play at his funeral. But it was a new version where they had, people singing the song. It was not the Harry Belafonte version, and we didn't get any other songs, Shake, 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 Sonora. I would have liked to have some Harry Belafonte, because it was such a meaningful part of Beetlejuice, Harry Belafonte was. But instead we got MacArthur Park by Richard Harris. You could probably put a little Harry Belafonte in there, some calypso music. I think this movie is doing very well in the box office, so I'm hoping we get a Beetlejuice, a third Beetlejuice movie, and I would like them to see them move away from the Dietzes and just get some crazy Beetlejuice romp. Probably have Lydia in it for some cameo action, but maybe move away to a completely different, insane story with Beetlejuice kind of doing his thing, and I think just heighten it to a crazy world. Maybe go Hawaiian. I thought the sandworms looked great. They used a lot of practical effects when they needed to, and they used a lot of CGI when they needed to, and I think there was a good balance. And there was a little bit of marvelization of this movie where you had a lot of different storylines going on at once, and I would have liked a more simple story. Again, I think there's about 40 minutes you can cut out of this. I would have cut out and changed Lydia's love interest. You had the Astrid love interest storyline. You had Beetlejuice's former wife kind of hunting him down, which I think that could have been done a little better. It's like she'd pop up for a while and then you wouldn't see her for a while, and she'd kill someone and then she'd pop up for a while and you wouldn't see her for a while. And I think we could have streamlined this a little better, make the story a little simpler, cut out one of the plot lines, cut out about 40 minutes, maybe add something. As far as legacy sequels go, I enjoyed this movie better than the most recent Ghostbusters Afterlife and Frozen Empire movies, as well as a lot of other legacy sequels just really don't live up. This one was a lot of fun. In conclusion, this was not a timeless classic like the original. It had a lot of fun moments. It was mostly inoffensive. It is not the Beetlejuice sequel I would have made, but in the end, it was entertaining enough and I kind of enjoy it. I will give it a very weak 7 out of 10.